Hello, welcome back. It's James here and welcome back to another video. I am going to do a video in two parts today, very related parts but slightly separated nonetheless. Firstly, let's just get those plants out of the shot so you don't get any spoilers. We're going to go over a little recap of the plants that I got from Indonesia like 2 months ago now. I've been getting quite a lot of requests since my last update video just to do a quick update now, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you those three plants and then I'm going to show you a few little propagation projects that I'm doing at the moment, because that's one of my favourite parts about growing plants, especially these tropical aroids. Most of them are so easy to propagate and it's so rewarding, and it's lovely to have just an ever-expanding family of plants. Right, so going into the first three, just to remind you what plants that I got a Philodendron Glorious, I got a Philodendron Metallica / Verrucosum, and I got an Anthurium Queen Anthurium. And all of them were in terrible, terrible shape. I did this last time, but I will insert a photo of the three plants right here so you know what I was working with. Last time I did this update, there was a huge amount of progress, particularly in root growth for the three of them. This time there is a little bit more obvious visible growth, so it's a little bit more exciting. I probably won't do another one of these updates on these particular plants until after winter, so for a good 3-4 months maybe at this point, and then we can come back to them in spring and see what's happened over the winter. For now, I'm just going to run through them quite quickly because I want to have time for some of the plants that I'm propagating. So starting with the one that was doing the best last time I showed you, this is the Philodendron Glorious. As you can see, it still has the little leaf that it had last time, but it also has this stunning new shoot coming through, which will probably open up in the next week or so. I was debating whether to leave this video for another week just so I could show you that new leaf, but you get the idea here pretty much as well. And I will definitely post a photo of this leaf when it comes out on my Instagram. So I'll pop a link at the end of the video and down in the description if you want to go and check that out. The best thing about growing in these little jars for propagation, I found, is that you can really see what's happening with the roots, which it's the most important thing with propagating these plants, because you can have all the leaves in the world, but if you don't have healthy roots, then it's not going to work. And you can see already from this distance, all of those little spidery white lines are just roots pressing against the side of the jar. So this philodendron is really, really happy in this. It's just straight sphagnum at the moment, and I'll probably keep it in sphagnum for a few more months until it is a little bit bigger, a little bit more robust, and then I'll transfer it into like a chunky aroid mix just so that it gets some more substantial roots. But it's doing really well. It's so unfussy. I said this last time, but all three of these plants, I literally just set them up in a suitable situation for their growth, and they've done everything themselves. It's not like you need to chase these plants at all. You just make sure they have everything they need: warmth, light, humidity, and they'll do the rest. They're designed to regrow like this. Number one, the Philodendron Glorious. Number two, this one struggled a little bit. This is the Philodendron Verrucosum. Last time I showed you this plant, there were 2 shoots. I had to cut it in half because there was a little bit of rot, but that second cutting completely died and rotted. So I'm left with just the one, but it has a nice little leaf there, and if you can see, there's another leaf coming through there, which also will be probably open in a week or so. A little bit damaged at the tip, but that's to be expected, I think. Less visible root growth, still a tiny bit round here if you look. But yeah, it's a little bit slower to get going than the Glorious. Still very, very hardy, still very beautiful, and I can't wait for the mature leaves to come through, because there's just that stunning green, and then you can see it there, but in the mature form, I'll maybe put a photo up here. Really, really beautiful leaves. Philodendron Metallica doing super well. Again, I'll update you in a few months. I'm sure by then it will have a few slightly bigger leaves. The last one, which is the one I'm really, really, really happy with, because everyone struggles with them. They seem to like me for the moment. This is the Anthurium, and yeah, quite a lot has changed since the last update. 2 leaves, huge amount of root growth, which is why I put it in this little pot. It's just a nursery pot that I could have sort of cut slits in the side off and poked a few holes in just to make it a little bit more aerated. Normally I put my Anthurium in terracotta, because I am a chronic overwaterer and terracotta just helps wick that extra moisture away. But it's done okay. I stupidly left it in direct sunlight for an afternoon and it's got a little bit of burn on the tip of the leaf, but otherwise it's doing really, really well. And I'm pretty sure that this is the regular form, so I already have the dark form, which, as the name suggests, has much darker leaves. I have a video on that plant a few back, if you want to go and look at that. But this one I think is the regular form, so I think they're a little bit broader, the leaves are a little bit wider, and obviously lighter in colour. But I'm really, really happy, if this is the regular form, to have both of them, and to have one that's doing so well. So yeah, there goes the first part of this video, just that little update on those two plants. For those of you who've been asking me, thank you for asking for updates, because it has been an emotional journey. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go back and watch my initial video, which I will post in the description below, or you can just scroll back through my channel and find the first video titled Heartbreaking Plant Unboxing or something like that, and see what I was working with initially, because it was not the best. So moving on to the second part, like I said, I adore propagating things. I have so many different things going at once, but I've just got 4 little things that I'm going to show you here. Most of my propagation and my little seed growing are actually at my partner's place, so I don't have them here to show you, but I am going to do a video at his in the next month or so, just because there are so many plants there that you haven't seen yet. And I've got seeds growing, like little Anthurium crystallinum, some Anthurium baccheri, some Clarinervium, all sorts of little bits, and I'd love to do a video on those, just to talk you through how I harvest and blah blah blah, the berries, etc. Ta-da! Another time. So, the 4 plants that I have here that I've been propagating, first of all we're going to start with the 2 that are basically out of the propagation zone and into the fully sort of established plant. But both of these I started literally with just like a chunk of stem. Didn't even look like a node, it just looked like a squishy brown piece of gravel. And from that, plants have arisen. So the first one is a little Anthurium clarinervium. This was really not a happy little thing when I got it. You can still kind of see what it came from, that little chunk there. But it just shows how well adapted these plants are to regrowing from being broken up, from falling apart, from being cut up. Yeah, 2 beautiful new leaves. Not the rarest plant, but that is completely okay. Clarinervium will always be one of my favourites, just because of how striking the veinage is, and the velvet leaves, and just how happy they are. It's the easiest of all my Anthurium. So it's a winner. If you were looking for an Anthurium to start with, they're readily available in the UK anyway. They're very, very readily available, and they're very, very easy to look after, so start with a Clarinervium. I'll probably pot this one up with my other Clarinervium when it's a little bit bigger and just get a slightly fuller plant, just to make it more like a statement. Ta-da! So, number 1, this is the Clarinervium. He's doing very, very well. Love. Beautiful. What's the point of me telling you this? I don't know how to tell you how I did it. This one and the next one, I literally just sat them in a little Tupperware. I think it was like a Chinese food Tupperware that I filled up with sphagnum moss, closed it in, a couple of holes in the lid just to keep the humidity really high, and they both sprouted in no time at all. And there you go. So that's number 1, the little Clarinervium. The other one is a Philodendron Ring of Fire. I posted this on my stories on my Instagram a couple of days ago. And this was the same thing. You can kind of see the little chunk of stem that it came from there, but I stuck it in a little Tupperware, in sphagnum, humidity, light, warmth, and there you go. They are obviously very like beautiful, dramatic plants when they get older. They have sort of that ripply edge to the leaf, which I guess, and combined with the variegation, is where it gets the name Ring of Fire, because it kind of looks like flames. But I wanted one pretty much since I first started with the Arrowids. I didn't really want to spend a huge amount of money. Everyone that I saw was like a little bit too expensive for what it was. So I just waited, got this little nodule, this little node, and yeah, now I have my little plant, and I'm happy to watch it grow from here. If it gets too big for my space, I may pass it on, sell it on, but for now I'm very happy to have it. Number 2. The next two that I'm going to show you, the last two, and then we'll be done, I promise you don't have to sit through much more, are plants that are less sort of far along their propagation journey, but they're still doing okay. This first one, I'm not going to show you, I'm not going to take it out because it's struggled massively, but this, in this lovely little mason jar, just covered in moss and filled with damp moss, is an Anthurium Metallicum, and it's struggled a lot. You can see the little leaf in there, but this is just one of the techniques. This is basically just a glorified version of the Ziploc technique, which I use quite a lot, in that you're sealing a plant in a very high humidity area. I don't normally water them really once I've sealed them in, maybe once a month or so, but you just want to make sure that I'm sure someone's going to tell me this is wrong, but it works really, really well for me. So I just sort of make sure that there's some form of condensation or moisture on the inside of the container, whether it's Ziploc or mason jar, and that tells me that there's enough moisture in there. As soon as it gets clear, I give it a little bit of a spray, and I literally just leave them in there in a happy position until the roots start to form. And once the roots start to form, we know we're safe. This Metallicum, very similarly to the Philodendron here, the root at the moment is just a tiny little chunk of stem, so really, really struggling, but I'm hoping this is going to work magic. Probably a month or two down the line, but I'm going to leave it here. Unless it shows me that it's really not happy in there, I'm going to leave it in here until it's growing. So yeah, last one. I'm really sad about this one, but silver lining to everything. You might have seen in my I think it was my first video on this channel, I showed my Philodendron Metallica, which is such a lovely plant, love it. But it got root rot, as things do sometimes. I neglected it a little bit, I got a little bit excited about other plants, and I think I left it in too small a pot for too long a time, and by the time I got to it, there were just no roots left. So I cut it up, and I stuck it in this little pot, and I have 4 Metallica cuttings that are growing quite well. I'm going to get one out without, if I can get one out without disturbing too many of the little rootlets. They have only been in here for 4 days, maybe 5, and they're already growing these long, happy roots. So I am pretty sure that these are going to be fine, and it's great. It's always sad to lose a plant, but when you can save enough of it to make like at least another one or a couple, it sort of makes it okay. The sacrifice was worth it. I'm gonna break the root. No, don't break it. There we go. But yeah, I'll maybe update you on these. I'll definitely put stuff up on my Instagram about them. But sad, but great. They're growing. Really, really easy. So I can see I've got a few techniques going here for my propagation. My favourite one is obviously the Ziploc bag or mason jar, and that's what I used for all of the plants that I got from Indonesia that I showed at the start of the video. And then water propagation I use quite a lot as well. I've got a bunch of like Standardliana monstera, some little philodendrons propagating in water, and it works really, really well. I find they do struggle a tiny bit when you take them back into a solid medium, but if you sort of break it down and maybe take them back into semi-hydro or back into just straight sphagnum, it's a little bit easier on them. So hopefully amidst all of that mess, you might have gotten some tips on how to propagate or save some of your own plants. And yeah, if not, then I hope you liked looking at my plants. Thank you for watching. If you do not already follow me on Instagram, my handle is slugplants, so you can go and follow me there. And if you want to see more of this, then subscribe. I have been quite busy the last few weeks, so the content of these videos has maybe not been as thrilling as it could be, but I will definitely try and bump it up a little bit. And as I promised in the last video, I am working on getting a proper mic setup. I got one that I thought was going to work, but it didn't work with my phone, so we'll find another way. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.